Welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. Like you went anywhere. I'm the one that went away. Now I'm here with you. I'm CharLee Simons. I'm your host here on Do Not Talk. Talk about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. There's so much stuff going on in the world, and we look at just the United States of America. I learned that when I was on a trip to Australia one time. And something happened that the U.S. was involved in, and it was like it had military implications, and it was just terrible, and it was an accident, but it involved a civilian airline or plane, and terrible, terrible tragedy. And I'm on this flight to New Zealand, then going to Australia, broadcasting live, getting ready to broadcast live from there for a radio station and a media company I was working for in San Francisco at the time, and they were trying to promote tourism. And so that was my job, to make Australia look great. And my first experience with Australia was a bunch of Aussies on the plane heading back home from the U.S., and they're all upset about it. They're all upset about what had happened, and they just know that you're an American. Just how we dress, how we act, I guess, how we talk and everything. They just know right away. They're coming up to me on the plane. So, Yank, what do you think about this, huh? What do you think about your president now, huh? And all that kind of stuff. And one of them actually said this when I said, I really don't know a lot about it. And I'm sorry I can't engage with you in this conversation, other than I know it was an accident. And they were angry. I'd never experienced anything quite like that. And I'm kind of trapped on this plane with a whole bunch of hostiles, really, because I'm a citizen of the United States. I wound up really liking the Aussies, all of them that I got to know and got to meet and got to hang out with while I was there. I liked them a lot. I'm sorry to see what's happened to their country, and I'm sorry that they let that happen. Bottom line, they did. They're in trouble now. But anyway, back to my story. They're really angry. And one of them said, "You Yanks, you think the whole world revolves around your country. You don't even know what's going on in the rest of the world." And, I did the usual really intelligent response of, "Nuh-uh." But he was right. That is how we are. We don't know. And we don't care. Unless it's something really, really, in your face. For the most part, we're like, we got enough problems of our own. Let's take care of our own. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, actually. I kind of feel that way, too. But it would be better if we were maybe a little bit more aware of what's going on. So Juan O'Savin, who is back on my show again. Thank God. I always love hanging out with him. He's that cool kid in high school that I just wanted to be friends with, just because I just thought he was so cool and I wanted to be like him. That's Juan to me. He's that friend in high school that I just wanted to be friends with because I was nowhere near cool or had it all together in any way possible. I was the nerdiest, geekiest, goofiest kid in school. But I wanted to be friends with the coolest kid in school just because who didn't? So Juan, I never know where he is. Well, we're trying to coordinate him getting on the show. And a few weeks ago, texting back and forth, he goes, "I'm in Korea." Korea. And here's a little video sample of what he was doing there.
A.E. Webb must be investigated, and instead of just starting here in Korea, I think we're going to start in the U.S. and come back to Korea, because they didn't just attack elections in Korea, they attacked elections across the world, and we're going to stop it. That's what this is about.
반드시 수사해야 될 것입니다. 한국에서 A웹을 수사할 것뿐만 아니라 미국에서 A웹을 수사할 것입니다. 왜냐하면은 A웹은 부정선거에 치밀한 부정선거를 자행을 했는데 한국뿐만 아니라 전 세계에 특히 미국에서도 자행을 했기 때문입니다.
I'm proud and safe, and I'm glad to stand with you.
저는 여러 전사들과 함께 서게 됐다는 것을 너무나도 자랑스럽게 생각합니다. 우리는 진리를 위해서 싸우고 있는 전사들입니다.
안 들려요. 하나도 안 들려요.
Fight, fight,
Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight!
Wow. This ties in with the whole, did you know? We know about election fraud here in the U.S. Have we ever even thought that I wonder if this is happening anywhere else in the world? Let's get Juan into the mix. He's got some tales to tell and some facts to disclose on Do Not Talk. Are you ready? This is going to be good. Hit it.
Hey there, kiddo.
Hey, cool kid in high school. What's going on?
Oh, just trying to get all the errands run. You know, I'm back here in the States for just a few days, and I've got several places I have to go. So I was trying to get a few errands run and before we head back out again. But yeah, South Korea. You know,
Head back out again?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
go ahead.
Well, South Korea. If you want to think about who's more on the precipice of our allies around the world that are the really true allies, South Korea's probably on lines. And in the election
they just had recently, where now there's a communist basically running South Korea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got China there on the border trying to move into South Korea. They didn't win their 38th parallel with North Korea, and so they're doing a different type of invasion, and literally are moving in. The politicians have been bought and paid for by China for a number of years now, and so they've gotten laws passed that now make the border with China absolutely open. And in fact, Chinese can move to South Korea, live there, buy property, do work, whatever, apply for the full citizenship while they're there. And it's literally just, almost just signed away. There's very little they have to do in order to become a South Korean citizen. And so South Korea, a population of 50 million right now, is undergoing a huge China invasion. Depending on whose figures you're by, somewhere around 10% of the population is Chinese. And they're not just Chinese wanting to become South Koreans, they're Chinese wanting to take over South Korea. And with this open border policy, right now, they could legally have 100 million Chinese move into South Korea. China has that kind of a population ready for the move.
Yeah, easily. Shoot, that's just one village.
Yeah. Well, and so what they're on a trajectory, wanting to move in about 10 million a year. At that rate, South Korea, as we know it, ceases completely to be South Korea, probably in as soon as three or so years. And the momentum is such that it wouldn't be much longer after that, could be even sooner. The Chinese are coming in, they get money from the Chinese banks, and they buy property, and then they, rent it out, lease it back out to South Koreans, but they're becoming the main property holders, especially in key areas. And so the South Koreans are losing their footing in their own country right up from underneath them. It's happening very, very quickly now. China has done this in large measure because of the way that the votes have gone. And there's a Chinese operation, Chinese funded and run, with assistance by USAID and Soros and others, called AWEB. And
it's an association, world election groups. And so they're cooking elections all over the world. In fact, one of the places that is going hot and heavy right this second is Zambia in Central Africa. And there's all sorts of mischief there because China needs the minerals from that country. So through all sorts of mischief, they've got a number of the politicians on the run, legal issues like has been done in so many places in the world, which we saw with Trump even, and are undermining the government of Zambia and taking it over. This is similar to things that they've attempted to do Rwanda, Congo, South Africa. It's an extension of their policy, but it's because they want to control that mineral wealth as a pipeline to China to do all of the technological things that they do. In South Korea, what's critical there is South Korea is a hub for all things into the West, especially into the United States, including shipping. And it's also, a lot of people don't realize this, South Korea is a hub for shipping in what they see as the future of the world over the next 10, 15, 20 years as we open up the North Passage. And that allows them to transit goods from China to Europe in about 20 days, as opposed to what right now takes 40 to 50 days, going through the Mideast and like that. So China sees South Korea as an absolutely vital location. Plus, we have U.S. base there, basing there, and are opposing them towards North Korea. They want that to end. They'd like to merge the Koreas, but under a more communistic type of a setting. And so there's great drama afoot in South Korea. Through the last couple of years, the push has been even more fully intensified because there was election integrity issues with the elections in South Korea. The president of South Korea, President Yoon, had intoned that he was going to go find the truth on the elections. And there's a National Election Center, NEC building, where all of these things are tabulated and kept, and computers and servers and all that. And there's other locations also where there's parts and pieces of the puzzle. At a certain point, the manipulation of the elections was so extreme that he declared martial law, went into the voting centers, and tried to gather the right materials. Depending on which version you hear, some of the military that was helping him during this martial law, which was only 2.5 hours, just so you know, it wasn't weeks or months. There's no machine guns in the streets and tanks in the streets and all that. He did it because legally he couldn't go into the election centers unless it was under the auspices of a national emergency. And so he declared that so he could go in and try and get the documentation that would help prove that the elections had been hijacked. They didn't get the right material for whatever reason. There's a couple versions on this. And then when in the course of all that, after they lifted the martial law, the Democrats, that's literally the party that they are, is the Democratic Party in South Korea, along with a few rhinos in their conservative party, the PPP, went in and, said he was an insurrectionist, that he was violating the law. They got him impeached out of office, and then he was subsequently put in prison. So with that in mind, South Korea's president, the person that was actually legitimately put there, was taken out of office. And then what's happened since, it's getting a little hot there in the hot rod.
Okay.
Double entendre there.
Right.
there was an interim acting president, which was the prime minister, uh, uh, Prime Minister Huang, who's a friend. And then what they did was the president in prison, they went ahead and held the additional elections. In the course of those additional elections, built out the Congress with more of these liberal-minded people. And South Korea at this point in time has now been completely hijacked. One of the things that they did, just to kind of give you a perspective, is that they changed the rules up at the 45th parallel there. What they did is they decided that it was too aggressive for South Korean soldiers to have bullets in their guns. Somebody might shoot somebody. So first they took away the bullets, then they took away the guns because they didn't want to even see guns. North Koreans see guns like they're getting ready to attack and come over the border. Then they decided that they didn't want these guys somewhere carrying knives and swords and stuff like that to defend themselves. They didn't want that, so they gave them batons. So now the only real defense against North Korea coming across the border is the U.S. Army, U.S. military. The South Korean Army, they're doing drills right now, joint training exercise with the U.S. forces. But just to further seal the picture, they had a division of the Army that was totally focused on drone warfare, which in this modern world, as you've seen with the stuff going on with Ukraine and Russia, drones have become just the whole war in many ways. And but South Korea, their Congress defunded the drone forces and shut them down, and disbanded them. So there is no drone warfare capability within the South Korean Army at this point in time.
Why would they? Well, we know why they would do that. This is blatant. This is just absolutely in your face. They're doing what they want. They're in control now. I don't see how we get out of this. We, as in collectively, those who want freedom for all of our fellow citizens on the planet. We would love to see that for everybody because we love it. And we thank God that we have it, at least so far. But in South Korea, how do they come back from this?
It even gets worse because you actually have the current president of South Korea, Lee, who was in court on trial, and they actually proved a number of things where he had been involved in some illegal activities. One of the things is that he sent money to North Korea and was helping them out with some stuff.
As a private
that
citizen?
would be treasonous. Well, as a private citizen out of his own bank accounts. So, and then there's allegations of drug running and things like that. I mean, he's the Maduro of Asia in many ways.
Great. That's great.
And he's in power. They would love to have the Chinese more involved there and are looking for every possible way to do that. Anything with the U.S. or the West, they're damaging it to the best of their abilities, and hoping that Trump will decide that they're not being a good partner and pull the U.S. forces out of South Korea. That's their pipe dream. The people of South Korea know that the core to this whole fight is election fraud, theft within the election system.
Obviously.
So they know that as it sits, there's no possible way for them to get out of this if they can't
I don't see how.
get honest elections again. And that's what
Especially
they're fighting.
when you have porous borders and you have your enemy pouring in and buying up your land and your property and then renting it back to you. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Well, again, where this has gone, though, now, a lot of people, just like President Yoon, remember, he is in prison right now. He's been in prison for like 400 days now. After the kangaroo court trial, couldn't even put on a defense. He's in prison essentially for life. His wife is in prison also. And so he's very careful what he says from prison. And the assertion is because things will go easier for his wife as long as he shuts up, does his time. If he says too much, then her fate will go harder for her. So he has come back to his Bible, professes Christianity, and quotes scripture and prays with his attorneys and like that. And that's what, President Yoon is doing right now. But the real crisis is this. The people understood that there was fraud. There was even fake paper, Chinese paper. We even went, other paper that wasn't the legal paper for ballots in various elections. So when the vote was put out to the public over this last election, June 3rd, what happened was similar to what happened in Arizona and other places here in the U.S. A couple of years back. The paper didn't fit the tabulators, so they couldn't get the votes counted right. It was printed the wrong size, but then they didn't have enough paper ballots. And what had happened, there was a little bit of a scam going. The conservatives knew that every day ahead of the election that you vote, in early voting, gives them time to adjust the numbers and the algorithms to hide the steal. So they were of the mind that let's all vote on election day. That's the day we're supposed to vote, and get our vote counted. And then they won't have the algorithms to fuss with the vote. Well, come election day, they go to vote, and there's not enough ballots, and some of the ballots don't work. And so you had a huge percentage of the population couldn't vote. And the places where things didn't work were the more conservative locations, districts. So as the day progressed, they just said, well, we don't have enough ballots, so we're closing the voting poll center. People got pissed off. They moved the ballots, said the vote was such and so, moved the ballots to the Olympic Stadium in the Olympic Village from the Olympics a few years ago. There's a beautiful park there. And they had them there. Then they were going to transfer them over to the NEC. That was like a central collection site, then send them all over to the NEC to count and do whatever they do, store them. People were pissed because they couldn't vote. So a handful of people blocked the doors before they could pull these ballots out. Then other citizens began showing up, got on their cell phones, other people showed up. Next thing you know, you got 90,000, 100,000 people, depending on whose figure you want to go by. Maybe more, that show up at the Olympic Center spontaneously. Now, this wasn't a protest by any specific group. Nobody filed something with the police for permission to protest, which is an important point. The park is open 24 hours a day. People are able to come through there. It's like in the law for citizens to be able to enjoy the park. So they all come down there and they block the doors. The police wanted to come collect the ballots, and Prime Minister Huang, tried to go in and observe and document what was there. Got blocked, had kind of a fracas. He's really the most well-known and popular politician in South Korea right now, and has been for a very long time. Beautiful, he and his wife, fantastic friends. And so the crowds have stayed, and the whole time, continuously, from January 3rd to right this second, there's a continuous cry from the crowds of people that have come. 24 hours a day, hand count, paper ballot, counted where cast, stop the steal. No more stolen elections. They haven't
still going
stopped
on
at all. And the crowd goes up, it goes down. By morning hours, it might be down at 1,000. By afternoon, it's back up to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Weekends, it might be 10, 15,000. But they've had a continuous presence there. The police are a little bit wary to go in because of a couple of key issues. First off, when they first came and tried to disperse the crowd in the first day or two, a lot of people noticed that the police officers, when they tried to identify who they were, weren't people that were within the police force that they knew of. And there was strong allegations, suspicion, indications that these were Chinese soldiers with police uniforms brought in to dispel the crowds. And there's been quite a bit of subsequent work that if they get in the right court, they'll prove that. Then the problem is that if they did come in and try to do a power move to remove the ballots, literally within minutes, tens of thousands of people would be able to descend on the park or any pathway to get those votes over to the NEC. You know, they've had protests with 250,000 people in the streets. They just stop traffic where it's at. You know, they want to helicopter it out. Well, they might be able to do that, but it's several tons. So there's this, and the people, what do they want? They want the ballots that are in there to be opened in public with neutral observers present. They'd even like American observers present, and not the Biden crowd, by the way. And to look these ballots over, because they also believe in the course of looking at them, they're going to find that many of the ballots are printed on this paper that was not the legal vote paper. So with that in mind, there's a hell of a fight coming up, being built out. And, you know, it's gone on since June 3rd. The people more and more broadly recognize that it's the stolen vote that's the cause of so many of their problems within the country, because the politicians are getting in are bought and paid for by China. And by the way, you know, I went and viewed a lot of sites with some of the South Korean folks that we're friends with out of the coalition. And one of the interesting things is right next to the Chinese embassy is the largest post office in South Korea. Oh, well, that's an interesting thing. You know, if you got mail-in votes and there's all sorts of mischief there, that could be a problem. But then you go over to the Democratic headquarters, where the Democratic Party, it's literally called Democratic Party in South Korea, headquarters is, and it's, you know, huge. I think it's 10, 12-story building. And on one side of this skyscraper, you have the Democratic Party. Literally on the other half of the building, all the way to the top, is another post office. And then you go to other sites around the country, and you have the same thing. The post office is right next to these critical vote centers, party locations, etc. I think we saw 5 of them just like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because it's the mail-in vote that is being primarily used for the fraud. That's why they want to eliminate the mail-in ballot in South Korea also, the protesters. And the politicians are not listening to the people. Of course, why wouldn't they? Because they got into office through these frauds and they're being greased by China. So some kind of a dust-up is forming up. It's going to be epic. And that, you know, is just getting going. But the other thing is this AWEB World Elections racket, they're involved. They have centers in 111 countries. They have 121 vote centers for helping to get honest votes and all that sort of thing, and help promote the mail-in ballots.
Wait, what?
Everything else.
So this is a worldwide thing.
Oh yeah, and China and Soros. By the way, any time you hear the name George Soros, you must substitute or hyphenate MI6, British intelligence. He is a creation of British intelligence. That's why they never went after him when he was shorting all of these markets around the world so they could get a black bag full of money. George Soros is just the cover boy for MI6. And let me add one other thing. Remember, Hong Kong was controlled by the Brits. All of the trade and everything coming in and out of China for a very long time. And
Decades.
so
100 years, I think.
when Hong Kong went back to Chinese control, all of those corporations, all of those families, their banking was all into the 1 square mile in city of London, city within the city. The real controller of China at every level and beneficiary of China at every level is the banks at the center of the city of London and that 100 banks in the square mile. And all those clubs associated with them, all those secret handshake groups. China is really run in this globalist operation as an extension of the Commonwealth. So when you see MI6 and George Soros in doing stuff with their money, such as the thing with AWeb, you got to smell a rat in there. And then the other side of the coin is AWeb was getting USAID money from our own operations. Well, the one thing you have to remember about USAID, during the 70s, during the Church Committee hearings, when the family jewels of the CIA were being exposed, the then director of the CIA was testifying before Congress, and they were asking about USAID's activities in South America. And when he was asked a direct question, he said, there is no person working for USAID in South America who is not in the employ of CIA. Okay, it was a cover. So then you go to other countries.
He literally admitted that on the stand,
Yes.
under oath, I guess.
Well, he was testifying to Congress under oath.
Oh, was that, okay, I got you.
And
Testifying to Congress.
So, but that goes to other places around the world. The whole operation anywhere in the world was being, where USAID was at, was a CIA operation. And part of the reason why that's so important, for example, who was Obama's mama working for? She was working for USAID when she was in Indonesia, when it was a super hot spot. Okay, so who was she really working for? And by the way, in Indonesia, with the work that she did for USAID, identifying families and bloodlines and like that, Indonesia had a monstrous civil war unrest, and they went in and killed, depending on who you talk to, somewhere between 1 and 5 million. And the information to decide who lived and who died, who was getting attacked, is the kind of stuff that Obama's mama was generating while she was working for USAID/CIA. The intelligence agencies in countries around the world are really part of a club for the globalista. That's why CIA, we have so many really great folks over there working in these agencies, but a core percentage are in there and have hijacked the operations, and they're doing work for the globalista. And so you can't look at them as being, doing honest work for America. They're doing work for somebody else. So it's part of this broader operation. And AWeb, getting money from USAID, funding from Soros. I can guarantee you that our own intelligence agencies are in there helping them. And that's why we're not getting to the truth of what's going on with AWeb's involvement in elections in 111 countries. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. And when President Trump says China stole the 2020 election here in America, when we get done with America along the way, we're going to be going after those fraudulent elections not just in the 71 countries besides the United States that our Venezuelan technicians are testifying to in courts right now, but 111 countries, including now Zambia, in what's happening there. And so this is very important for the American people. The fight doesn't end with just getting China out of U.S. elections and our system. There's other things involved also. It's fairly serious.
What now? You froze up. You froze up. There's something about Juan, whenever I have him on, there always seems to be technical difficulties. Always. Are you there, my friend? You froze up. If you can still hear me. Going back to South Korea, what you were describing, what's happening at the building where they're storing the ballots, and they want to collect them. The government, the law enforcement wants to collect them. These Chinese soldiers in police officer uniforms want to collect those ballots, and there's literally we, the people of South Korea, barricading the door and saying, oh, no, you don't. Not until this is investigated, not until we get this done and we get to look at these and make sure it's all right. That's what I'm getting, which to me makes it their January 6th. So I've lost one altogether. While we're waiting for Juan to come back on, could I ask you to please click that QR code right there? If you can, that'll take you right to my Venmo account. If you can help this show, Juan has an event that we're about to talk to. Juan's event is coming up in September 2026, next month. This is going to be huge. This is going to be huge. This kind of thing he's talking about right here, it's going to be that on steroids. Hundreds of people are all meeting at the Ahern Hotel, and we're going to be in Las Vegas for Juan's next summit that he has coming up. And I'll let him tell you how to buy tickets, how to get involved, and hopefully I'll see you there because I'm going, Lord willing. But I sure could use some help financially, so I can do that. So if you could, please click that QR code right there, or just go to my website, CharLeeSimons.com, CharLeeSimons.com, and you can give through there. Or you can buy some merchandise. I have all kinds of stuff. My little merch store, like this mug, which I love. Let's talk about politics and religion. Look at that big old 15-ounce coffee mug. It's big. And that's how I like big mugs. I cannot lie to them. The brothers can't deny. So if you'll go to CharLeeSimons.com or just click on that QR code and help me go to Las Vegas. I sure would appreciate it. I don't know if he's going to come back on. I'm going to text him right now for everyone watching live. Thank you for your patience. Are you coming back on? Voice to text. So when Juan comes back on, I want to ask him about this event going on at the park in South Korea, where citizens are showing up and barricading the doors where those ballots are kept from their recent election in June, which sounds like it was very dirty, and the people realize that. Automatically, my mind goes to January 6th. That's why 1 million of us showed up from all over the country to let our voices be heard, that we know that something wasn't right with this election, and we don't want you to certify it until we find out and figure this out and get it done right. That's what that was all about, bottom line. And then look what happened. FBI agents in the crowd trying to incite, trying to ramp people up. Them moving the barricades, inviting people into the building, Capitol building, and then arresting over 1,000 of them later on. And bringing them up on charges? No, just making them sit there in jail while they were trying to trump up and fake some charges. The whole thing was so foul, so foul. So this is happening in South Korea, but every day, around the clock, citizens are showing up and taking. This is amazing what's happening. Didn't see any of this on the NBC Nightly News. Didn't know anything about this. What's going on? You're not going to either. Last thing they want, these communists and media, last thing they want is people in other nations seeing this and going, hey, wait a minute. We can do this too. They don't want that. So these people are showing up and keeping them from taking out these, what they strongly believe are dirty ballots, basically. And the president of South Korea gets impeached and jailed. And as Juan said, has been jailed for 400 days now, something like that. But that couldn't have been from the June election. Anyway, I'm unclear on all that. But the bottom line is, imagine January 6th if President Trump would have been, well, they did impeach him a second time, but then arrested. Imagine. Same thing. We're showing up going, no, don't certify this election. One day we did this. These people in South Korea are keeping up a vigilance every day, 24 hours a day. People are taking shifts, I guess, keeping them from taking those ballots out of that building. That's the heart of a lion right there. I've heard the South Koreans are great people. I'm sure the North Koreans were great people too. How could they allow communism to take over like that? Well, we see how. They start with the youth, start with the high school and college kids, get them indoctrinated, get them all ramped up, get them all thinking socialism and communism is the way to go because we'll all get taken care of. And then next thing you know, and there's no coming back. You can't fight back against that once they are in tremendous power like that. The communists, that's what they do. Why would they be so interested in South Korea? Why can't they just leave them alone? Why couldn't China just leave Korea alone? We got our country, we're communists, that's great. We're going to show the world how great communism can be. Well, they didn't. And that's because I believe it's all based in satanic worship. Really, it's all so satanic, isn't it? Steal, kill, and destroy, invade, take over. 100-year plan. They plan out these things 100 years in advance. How do we fight against that? Pray against evil. Be no part of the works of darkness, but instead even expose them, according to Ephesians 5:11. Pray against evil. We're to pray against that it fails. Ask for the Lord's intervention. Stand up through him. That's the battle we're fighting. Well, I'm sorry that Juan did not make it back on. I don't know why. And on that note, we'll have to try and pick this up later. I learned so much stuff that I'm not getting from the media, that's for sure. What do we do with that information? I'd start with prayer. Pray for those people. Pray for the success of those fighting against the communist takeover of South Korea. Pray against evil. Take it to the Lord. And ask for that protection from wickedness all over the world. Our God is bigger than anything that they could devise or think of. Our God is bigger. Don't forget that. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.